weren't getting paid pennies. Now, they were driving a new truck. Now, let's be real, trucks aren't cheap. But they didn't go have some big fancy house. They lived a modest life. And that's a lot of what it is in rural living, is a modest life. But those people were making a good wage. I never heard them complain about it. Knew them, talked with them. Sure, everybody would like to make more money, but they also know when the losses come, guess who eats that farmer. So he's got to make money because there's going to be years where he takes a loss, But ag is the easy thing, Adam said. They want to attack it because they always want to bring it up as, the food prices. It's going to cost you more. Good.
I'm going to tell you something, Corey. I've been saying this since. Hold on. Let me just say this really.
I got to run this story real quick. Let me say this real quick. I just find it fascinating that people who do good for themselves, but complaining about the government and how much things cost and taxes and all that, trying to give jobs to crazy people or poor people and tell them to work for minimum wage and figuring out how they can make it work. Like, y'all got it all figured out how they can make it work off minimum wage, but y'all making $30, $40, $50, $60, $70 an hour, but y'all complaining. Think about that. Think about you telling people in the same world to figure out how to live off minimum wage while you making 50 times that amount. It's fascinating.
All right, I'm going to help him out here. What do you do when you're making lower wages? Most of the time, that's an entry-level position. You should thrive in your position. Get there early. Do your job. Ask what else can be done. There's a book called QBQ. It's worth the read. Everybody should read it. It talks about a guy. He was a busboy. This guy, he didn't care. I'm a busboy. That guy needs a drink. What do you need, sir? I'm going to get it. Oh, hey, what do you need? Oh, let me get you a refill. This kid was running around like a maniac helping everybody. The guy comes back a few months later, asks to talk to the busboy. He's not here. Long story short, he's the manager of the place now. How did that kid go from busboy to manager in a matter of 6 months or whatever it was? Worked his ass off. Okay? And it's proof that all you have to do is show up, do your job, and you're going to crawl up the platform. I literally heard two people talking in Walmart about it. One, she started crawling up the ladder. She was telling her friend, I'm listening to this, telling her friend what you have to do. You got to be proactive. You got to come in. You got to, hey, what can I do? Her friend was like, I don't want to do that. That's the difference. It's what you want. It's being a little uncomfortable maybe, but you get to crawl up the ladder. It's just a starting point. We're not asking anybody to stay at a minimum wage. Nobody should stay at a minimum wage. It's a beginner's platform, right? What's going to happen when AI replaces all the people in the tech world? Their degree goes out the window. They're going to have to take a big hit in their pay and go find somewhere else. But watch them. They will, and they will crawl their way back up. I mean, to say that we're expecting people to work for minimum wage is a joke. Let's pay more for our food. Let's pay people more. We're figuring it out in California. What they do, just raise it up to $20 an hour. Let's find out how many jobs get cut. You want to know who the number one, they say the number one demographic that's most affected when they raise wages or when they raise the minimum wage on fast food? Black single mothers. Look it up. They're out there working their ass off. Some of them working 2 jobs. They get their hours cut. They get cut loose. You can't just raise it up blindly. Go look and see what fast food costs now. When they do that, the cost of fast food goes through the roof. Okay, great. People who are eating there, pay it. That's what happens is we want to pay more people more money. It's going to cost all of us more. Suck it up, and that's what we got to go with.
Do you think some of that cost, Corey? Like, I hear you. Yeah, start entry level. I mean, of course, there's very limited growth for everybody to get a piece, but I guess it's survival of the fittest. What about, do you think part of enabling minimum wage to go up would be potentially trying to address CEOs that are making 100 times the salary of their lowest earner in their company?
I think it could be some of that, but you also have to look at the guy who's at the top is there for a reason because he's damn good at it. He's turned a company, and I don't know McDonald's numbers, but you just throw it out there. All of a sudden, they went from, what did he take them from? 100 million.
There's different sacrifice and risk. You like people as in an entry level position. Being a CEO of a certain company, you could end up having to fly to Washington to testify in front of Congress. You could end up to go to New York Southern District, and have to go into federal court and answer ultimately for, a network of what people entry level did. in terms of exposing the company to liability. So, I mean, there's just, the stakes are just simply higher. I think that CEOs should be paid what they're paid. I mean, like, what are we talking about? People get caught up in just the everyday and the discomfort of what they have to go through, as opposed to the stakes of what their position means, the overall sacrifice behind it, and the overall liability in holding that type of position.
Yeah, and you know this, Adams, too. I mean, me as a general manager of a company, my job didn't stop at 5 o'clock. It never stopped. I was first specifically told, you represent the company 24/7, 365. That's it. Everywhere you go, always remember that. You're the face of the company. So I didn't get to go at 5 o'clock and just go hit the freaking bar, get drunk, and get a big deal, right? No, my job is done. Cut. Coldplay. Guy just gets caught with what? Some other chick. It's not his wife. Lost his job. I mean, would you be okay with the average worker losing his job because he cheated on his wife? Most people would say no. That CEO did. Nobody cares though, right? Because he's a CEO. He made plenty of money. There's a whole different bird when you get to that level.
Business, right? You raise the prices incorrectly in certain type of industries or in certain type of areas, you go to jail. You know what I mean? Like, it's very different in the level of exposure behind your decision making that is different from a CEO than that of an entry level employee. I'm sorry. And yeah, in certain industries it may be a little bit different, but for the most part, that's why the expectation is that CEOs are just simply paid more.
Adams, maybe you or Roger know this. They always tout this one as having a higher minimum wage than America. But the reality is when you dig into it, there actually is no minimum wage. The government doesn't set a standard minimum wage there. What does that do? Now you literally have the companies vying for the best workers. So they pay more and a little bit more. Oh, I got to outdo them, so they pay a little bit more, right? Here, you literally have a company start up, and they know there's a workforce out there that's not skilled. I can start it at, I don't even know what it is right now. What is
there is a federal minimum wage. What are you talking about?
Here. But there's a country, I don't remember if it was in the Netherlands or where it is, but everybody talks about how their minimum wage is higher than ours. But when you dig into it, there is no federal minimum wage there. It's just naturally lifted itself because...
Well, Roger made a very good point earlier, Corey. You know, minimum wage is all based on skill set and just the nature of the job that the work that you're performing. So, I mean, when you look at minimum wage and somebody working at McDonald's was not a job that was designed for people to raise families on. Now, I understand that, you know, situations happen, people get sick, you know, people lose their job, they have to have something in between as a cushion, you know, or maybe perhaps in the holidays they want to get something extra. But the reality is the nature of that type of work and the skill set that's required behind it, where it would make sense for somebody to hold that job, is a profession that's consistent with raising a family and retiring. That's just reality.
And that's kind of where I was going to start going earlier, and I kind of just stopped. But we have people that live beyond their means, too. You know, as Americans, 90% of the country lives beyond its means.
Well, but what does that mean? So it's not just what you're earning versus what you're spending, but it's also the skills that you have and the taste that you've acquired. You see what I'm saying? And that's where I go back into, you know, people who can barely speak English, you know, not from, you know, English being their second language, but I'm talking about kids that were born here in America. You know, there's hallways full of rooms where people feel like, you know, they should have reparations and they should have a brand new Bentley in their driveway, but they can barely speak English. You know, what do your skill sets command for you to acquire a certain type of taste, to know and guarantee that you have some level of skills to be able to and successfully acquire gains from those skills?
Hey, can I just recite what the Declaration of Independence says? The phrase "eat out their substance" means to exploit and impoverish the colonists by draining their resources and wealth, eat out their substance. That's what our government is doing to us with income taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, import taxes. All these taxes are eating out our substance. They are taking from us what we create, what we produce. And it's insane. The government is literally spending $1 billion an hour. The federal government is basically spending $1 billion an hour. Do you think maybe $500 million an hour is substantial to fund federal operations? I mean, does it have to be $1 billion every single hour? Could it maybe be like $750 million an hour? Because I just get the feeling that spending on our behalf $1 billion an hour, it's just a little too much. Maybe like 20% cut, 30% cut. Do you think it's possible?
I've talked about this before. Before COVID, I think the budget was like 3.9, 3.8 or 3.9. I think 3.8 trillion, something like that. Okay, we put in $3 trillion to help with all of the COVID spending, sending out checks to everybody to give them extra money since they were staying at home. They had to eat more or something. I don't know what they did for, but anyway, they did that. COVID's done. The budget's 6.9 trillion. We never lost that $3 trillion. It just happened to stay in there. And I would love to know where and why. But nobody's asking. Nobody's demanding answers. Now, that was last year's budget coming into this year, right? Now, most assuredly, this next year's budget is going to be even higher yet, right? It's going to be money cut, even though we cut, you had Doge in there doing things. Doge, having him be in there for only a limited number of days isn't ever going to get the job done. That job should be a 24/7, 365 job. Get it done, I loved when you hear, the people that were attacking these people, because some of them were young. These guys are prodigies. These guys have done more by 19, 20 years old than most people are going to ever accomplish in their life. We need to continue that. I'm with you. It's until the spending. I think everybody in here has kind of been championing it. You got to cut spending. Spending's got to come way down.
This is what I'm saying. It starts from people feel like it starts from the top down. It goes from the bottom up. When we adopt a society to where we take our own spending seriously as a society, and that's why I went back to my question about what does living outside of your means? Because yes, financial resources are one part of means, but the ability to cultivate those financial resources are another side of means. So until we develop healthy attitudes in congruency with both, I don't think that anybody's going to have any type of meaningful voting power to compel anybody who has control over our government spending and correcting that issue. Does that make sense, Brian?
Absolutely. I just, unfortunately right now, we can go back to what we talked about a little while ago where they keep people battling each other. Maybe that was on a different road, but keep people battling. And we talked about it here, I think. And when they have us battling, they can continue to do what they want to do. We continually put in people. Let's just use Maxine Waters. I can't remember the guy's name that ran against her, but he lived in the community that she represents. He served 2 tours in Iraq, showed the house that, he had literally gang fire shooting into his home, walked the neighborhood, still lives in that neighborhood. And at the end of his commercial, he was standing in front of her house, which he shows on a map is several miles away, not in that district. But yet they kept putting her in, and yet he showed all the statistics, the crime, all the stuff that had happened, unemployment, everything down. She had done nothing for them, and they keep putting her in. But you have somebody who lives in your community, and you don't put them in. And that's all because of government money. Let's be real. They're putting the money in there to put people in there. And until the voters, if the vote even matters anymore, until they start saying, no, we're not accepting that, we're putting in. I'm going to be honest, I think AOC's an idiot, but I'd rather see her in there than some of these other freaking con men, Get somebody who really represents you, who you believe sees things like you, that has values like you, and all of a sudden you start changing it again from the bottom up. Because we aren't going to convince a politician to go cut $3 trillion out of the budget. They're just going to say it's impossible.
You're right. Because again, given the attitudes of the average consumer and the average American, they don't see an importance of even making that request of seeing a need to cut back that spending.
Well, we can go even a little further. What is our GDP? Okay, sure, it's constantly growing, but let's think about what it would be if we were manufacturing. But everybody says, well, we can't manufacture. Wrong. A large chunk of our GDP last quarter came from manufacturing. Oh, and I think it's 75%. It's close to 75% of manufacturers in this country are under 19 employees. We're manufacturing like crazy. We just outsourced the big manufacturing to bigger companies over where? China. If you look at the buy local and you ever hear them explain buying local and you hear money, how it goes through your local economy, how many times over, it's that residual effect of it compounding that starts to make a difference. And until we start bringing manufacturing back and demanding more, this is going to be a continual process, because guess what? Manufacturers actually pay pretty well. 93% of manufacturers in the United States are giving their employees health insurance. Now imagine that, all these people that are complaining about you don't need a whole lot of skill. They will train you to manufacture whatever it is they're doing. And we could literally start putting people in positions where they can build themselves a future, work themselves up a ladder, become a manager, become a general manager. But until we start bringing jobs back, and we're okay with outsourcing, let them build it. You're okay with literally, you're fine.
It's not a matter of okay with outsourcing, Corey. It's a matter of like our generation, like the millennial and the newest generation going into the job market, they don't have any interest in staying and building a career by ascending into those positions. They don't.
Listen, can't we all just agree that there's one problem, and it's a major problem, and it's your government? It's not your generation. It's not your fellow citizen. It's your government, which is literally ruining the party. They are they're a silent partner that puts up no money in your business, but yet demands revenue from your business, and they're eating out the substance of your life. It's been like this, but it's only going to get worse, because 25 years of growing this debt from 9/11 to 2025 at $40 trillion, ladies and gentlemen, it only gets worse from here unless, we do something. There's some type of reform or some type of consolidation or negotiation. Like America, the government is going to have to negotiate these debts. There's going to be a debt settlement.
Admin, the country is only good as its people, okay? If you have a bunch of irresponsible people that don't recognize what's happening and to control their spending themselves, you're not going to get the government on board with making better decisions for those people.
I'm just saying that, if you talk to McZed on here, he believes there's going to be a debt jubilee. Well, if the debt jubilee is in 2050, but we just keep growing the debt, from 2025 for the next 25 years, which is the most likely outcome. I mean, this is why I'm running for Congress. We have to raise a stink and raise the conscious awareness of the fact that we are kicking the can. This is not a kick the can down the game road to play. If you played the game, kick the can when you were a kid, I'm just saying that we have to accurately diagnose and describe the situation, and we can't just revert back down to, our fellow citizens suck, therefore our government sucks. That's not a solution, and that's not optimism, and that's not intelligence. And I don't think that accurately describes the situation. I think your fellow citizen is inherently intelligent, but they have been duped and they have been fed a bunch of fucking lies, and they are hyper conditioned to accept a set of rules which are completely unfair. The founding fathers, as Mojo said earlier, went to war over a tea tax, which literally, I think at the time it was like 40,000 pounds. It was like nothing. It was like $1 a day they were fighting over. It wasn't even that much. It's the principle of taxation and getting to keep what you produce. If they're taking 60% of what you create, that's not freedom or liberty. That's indentured servitude. That's slavery. And it sucks. And it's only going to get worse for these next generations because the debt pile has grown so high. It will demand the population to service it.
Well, that's why they silenced everybody that started talking about the fair tax. One of the first questions the politicians asked was, how does that create more revenue? It's not. It's a revenue neutral system, right? You're not there to try to create more revenue for the government. We're there to keep the government funded to do the things that are necessary. The one thing that used to piss me off is you're going to start blockading and putting up security around memorials and parks that are not manned. But when the government shuts down, now you're going to man them and keep people from going in.